There are new reports. Sean Diddy Combs is under investigation by a federal grand jury looking at allegations of trafficking. In March, Homeland Security officials searched the rap mogul's homes in Miami Beach and Los Angeles. CNN and the Los Angeles Times say that the women who are suing Combs for alleged sexual assault will be asked to testify to a grand jury here in New York.
Sean Diddy Combs, one of the biggest names in music, is facing a potential grand jury indictment, and the latest twist involves his new wife, Dana Tran. This story has everything marriage, betrayal, and a federal investigation that could bring Diddy's empire crashing down. Just recently, Diddy shocked everyone by marrying Dana Tran, the mother of his youngest child.
This guy has no love in his heart whatsoever. Diddy is just, he's a calculator. He likes to calculate things. If there's anybody who is the pillar of the lack of loyalty, it's him. It's crazy to me. He got this, the only way he got this far was because everybody gave him a pass when he was younger. And when we were younger, really. I wouldn't, good point, Bridget. I wouldn't call it a business move. It's more of a legal move. That's business too, but he's trying to stay out of jail. That's why he did that move. And for some reason, I guess he feels like, his wife has some dirt on him. But guess what?
But this isn't a love story. Insiders report that Diddy may have forced Dana into this marriage to keep her from testifying against him in court. That's right under the law. A spouse can't be compelled to testify against their partner, and it looks like Diddy is desperate to use this to his advantage. But Dana isn't staying silent. Despite the risks, she has decided to expose Diddy, revealing some shocking secrets. This has pushed the Department of Justice to take serious steps, and sources say a federal grand jury is about to hear from Diddy's...
If she's willing to do that, she's not happy. Basically, it seems like to me, Diddy is exactly the problem in our community, but he has a huge eraser, which was his money. Now that might have changed though.
Accusers. Dana's revelations could be the final nail in the coffin.
That's all an act. Him looking like he's having fun with his kid, that's all an act. But check this out. Check this out here.
William Lejeunesse, senior national correspondent for Fox News, delves into the most recent allegations leveled against rapper Sean Diddy Combs. Welcome viewers to my channel. Please subscribe, like my video and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next update. Another lawsuit against the troubled entertainment mogul Sean Diddy Combs is a six-figure business dispute alleging that Combs left a New Orleans design firm liable for $100,000 in material costs after postponing the event. Raven PMG accepted a contract to construct a red translucent cube for an event Combs was planning to hold. The company builds temporary structures out of steel, neon lights, and other materials for events like concerts, pop-up venues, and art installations. According to the federal civil complaint that was filed last week in the Southern District of New York, Phantom Labs, a different company that worked with Combs, approached Raven to work on the structure on August 31, 2023. Phantom, who is also named in the lawsuit, asked for changes to be made to the design a few days later. This added another $20,000 to production costs, which another co-defendant named Mark Lupton allegedly promised would be paid by September 8th.
Okay.
During the project's negotiation with Raven, the lawsuit claims that Phantom and Lupton misrepresented their funding and business relationship with Combs. Combs, the billionaire entrepreneur behind Bad Boy Records and the Sean John clothing line, is also accused of violating the contract by allegedly failing to pay Phantom, which in turn left Raven with the bill.
I thought he was balling. What happened?
On April 4th,
Welcome, Susie Bear.
2024, Sean Diddy Combs rides a bicycle from his residence across the Star Island Bridge in Miami Beach, Florida. Sean Diddy Combs rides a bicycle from his residence across the Star Island Bridge in Miami Beach, Florida. Fox Business's inquiry for information was not immediately answered by Combs' representatives. On
Basically, he's broke. Well, he's broke now. I mean, he's broke now. I mean, he's broke. He's broke.
For Diddy, who has already been named in multiple civil lawsuits, mostly for sexual assault. Stay tuned as we break down Dana's shocking claims, the federal investigation, and what this could mean for Diddy's future.
Things with Diddy just will not get any better.
No, not a bit. Not one bit. Not one bit. Not one bit.
Diddy, Sean Diddy Combs, as we like to call you, the diddler. We have a few questions for you. Y'all, the streets are saying that Diddy might have married his last baby's mom, Dana Tran, and the streets have photos.
I mean, that's it. You get yourself a high value man, right? And what you get to be looking forward to, unfortunately, in our community, is being a baby mom. No matter how good you treat the guy, no matter how much you treat the guy. Susie, you nailed it. You don't think he will hurry up and file for bankruptcy? He probably already got the papers drawn up.
Front of you, let me know what you think. But the streets are saying that Diddy and Dana Tran may be married. And if they are married, the one thing we have to ask about is why would they be married? Now, Diddy is
Good point, Susie. He probably does have some offshore money.
facing what the streets are saying is imminent arrest. The Fed investigation is still open. There has not been any indictment or charges. Diddy did make a lame apology to, sounded like Cassie.
Now, this was a month ago. This is coming from Tisa from a month ago. He is getting some charges coming up. They're on the way.
Didn't say her name. I guess everybody he may have treated like that or hurt in the past, present, or if you believe the streets, future. But let's get into what if they are married, because we did a little digging. What that means if they are married, how is Young Miami still around, and why he might have married Dana Tran, and what he is trying to hide. Let's get into that. Okay, so first let's get to the evidence. Why are the streets saying that Diddy and Dana Tran are married? Well, because of these photos. Exhibit everything, right? Diddy is wearing a ring in this photo.
He did get married. Exactly. Blink, blink, exactly.
There's also, and this is the new ring that he started wearing, okay? And he's with his baby love. Now, here is the funny thing.
He staged this photo right here. He can care less about kids or anybody else, really, in my opinion.
Here is a picture of Dana Tran, also posing with baby love. Baby love looks around the same age, and if you notice, she has a ring on her finger. Now, I know what you're saying, the same thing I did. Well, if you look at it, it looks like their ring is on their right hand and not their left hand, whereas traditionally.
It doesn't matter. We know now he's married, or a fake marriage. I guess you can call it that. I don't know if you want to call it really a marriage or not. We're going to go ahead and dive deep into, wait, where is that? This right here. That's unfortunate. Yep. No, actually, it's a lot higher than that, I believe, but let's keep it going. Let's see what she says. Here we go. Here's the crazy thing. Here's the crazy thing. Black women still, even without reporting, even that most black women do not report abuse. Black women still have the highest reported amount of abuse, which means that I think it's like 40%. So that number's got to be around 70, 75% that of the actual abuse, if you know what I mean, the actual abuse. Here we go. Yeah, that is true that police officers are high on the list of abuse. I guess whether it has to do with the job or because they were qualified for that's what happened. Yeah, that was like some weird stuff. So that's what you call discrimination is when somebody who did much less and got a lot more than somebody who did a lot more and got nothing. That is true. That is true. Um, I would say that I'm glad she corrected herself as far as stating that she's not trying to coddle violent men or support violent men or do a BMW. But it's important to point out that with all of these aspects that are going on in our community, we still have the strength within ourselves to change that ourselves. So why are we I mean, we can acknowledge that we have these challenges, but we have to fight the challenges and not just say, "Oh, well." The problem is that we're falling into it. That's the problem. We're literally we're making that prophecy come true without fighting it and doing and proving it wrong. Damn. Yep, and the ironic thing is black women are far down the list when it comes to promiscuity. Believe it or not, they are beat out by other races of women, and they are 1/3 as sexually active as their male counterparts. Yeah, that's all that worked out poorly. Oh, let me pause this right here. Mic check 1 2. Can you guys hear me out there? 1 2. 1 2. Just making sure if you can hear me, put a 1 in the chat. Just making sure you can hear me. 1 2. Check 1 2. If you can hear me, let me know. 1 2. I see. Let's see. Do I have some ones? Okay, I got some ones. Okay, here we go. Right. That's the ironic thing, because a lot of dudes think that the whole stigma or the whole ironic stereotype was that black women are want to um trap black men, when really, quite honestly, it's the reverse. Because when at the end of the day, who gets to walk away from the child if they want to? Ain't the woman. So if that's why the men do it right now, I'm telling you, that's the one reason, because it's like, hey, uh, otherwise men would be more careful. Let's put it that way. But they know they can walk, so they do it. They will pop a baby in there and cut. That's just the way it is. The percentages show that. Oh no, that's my bad. Oh my God, folks. My bad. I apologize. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Here we go. Man, that was a trip. I'm glad you guys stuck with me. Here we go.
In America, approximately 3 women are killed by a spouse, lover, or partner every day. In recent years, 53% of these women are Black. In fact, Black women are 4 times more likely than their white peers to be murdered by a lover and 7 times more
Y'all must have thought I was crazy talking to myself.
likely to be killed when pregnant than white women. To make matters worse, 9 out of 10 murdered Black women were killed by a man they knew. This problem is multi-layered, and anyone ignoring these layers will hinder the fight to end domestic violence more than help it. Anyone claiming it's purely a leftover of slavery is as lost as anyone claiming that Black men are simply more violent than white men. The first layer is structural. Black people have been exposed to racial and gender oppression on an intergenerational level. And as mentioned before, these are things that have existed before violent hip hoppers and modern Black people.
Well, the problem is that it is, I mean, unfortunately, by the stats, Black men are more violent to their women than white men are to their women. That's the problem. That's initially what we're looking into right now. Welcome, kittens and caskets in the house. Um, So, I mean, that's just a stat that we have. I mean, Black women are getting more hands and feet by Black men than white women are getting hands and feet by white men. And there's more white men and more women. So that's a concern.
On the racial front, there have been educational, employment, and economic inequalities at a systemic level that also taints everything, like having enough money to leave an abuser, having access to quality homeless shelters and jobs, to brazen corruption in law enforcement. Speaking of law enforcement, from a historical perspective,
Welcome, Mistress Newbie in the house.
Most Black women have been reluctant to call the police on abusers, as police are corrupt, violent, and often ineffective in deterring intimate partner violence, with many being abusers in their own families as well. Data suggests that cops commit acts of domestic violence against spouses and children at up to 15 times that of the general population.
Yep, that's true.
Criminal justice system tainted by racism and misogyny makes speaking up against an abuser a dangerous gamble. Sometimes Black women don't even have to actually kill their partners to be jailed, like in the case of Marissa Alexander.
This was messed up. This was messed up. She did everything right and still ended up in jail.
2010, just 9 days after giving birth, her abusive husband attacked her. She fired a warning shot with a gun she was registered to own and ended up being found guilty of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon in Florida, a state known for its notorious stand your ground self-defense law. Her husband even testified in court that he had been abusive towards her and most of the women in his life to no avail. And what about violence, a structural issue throughout humanity's existence? From public beatings of enslaved people at the whipping post to church-sanctioned child beatings, the structural violence of those who are molded to be subservient has been a recurring theme in our community.
Yeah, unfortunately. I mean, the thing is that there's a point in time when you just have to say, okay, we have to get it done. We have to do it. Now, quite honestly, this change is not going to happen. Black women can do everything. You can do everything you can. In fact, you have tried to do everything you can to help the situation in community. But if Black men don't do anything or get worse or stay bad and don't do what we're supposed to do to get better, then obviously, guess what? Everything stays the same.
Black boys and girls often face unfathomable levels of physical and sexual violence and often don't have anyone to turn to for healing. For boys, the inequalities and violence converge with expectations of manhood in a patriarchal society, another structural issue, to often make men with a lack of resources and a lack of success in a white man's world more susceptible to the generic stereotypes Black men are socialized to embrace.
Yeah, I mean, look, look at these role models with guns. Role models with guns. That's a great way to establish a positive movement forward.
And this is where we enter the cultural layer. Numerous scholars have discussed the commonality of poor, neglected, and/or dehumanized Black boys falling into a certain persona for self-esteem and protection. This persona involves toughness, not showing emotions, wielding an exploitative attitude towards women, and/or resorting to violence to settle disputes. I can already hear the fingers going at the keyboards right now, but none of the things I've mentioned are a call to coddle abusive Black men or demonize the good ones. Can we rewind that and say it again?
Yeah.
None of the things I've mentioned are a call to coddle abusive Black men or demonize the good ones. Let's not play coy here. Structural issues.
The concern I have is that what percentage of the Black male community are good ones? We need to really find that out.
Like patriarchy, poverty, and racism exacerbate the gangster and pimp personas. But these personas are also baked into Black culture at this point. From blues lyrics to modern hip hop, domestic violence has been satirized, downplayed, joked about, or ignored.
Yep. I mean, the thing is that there's a point where men, we have to take responsibility and ownership of the problems. And the fact that we should strive not to be on the top of all negative what I call it, stats. Instead of complaining about Black women, we should be trying to focus on not giving Black women things to complain about. Yeah, but we keep doing that.
Dehumanization of Black men in media as violent creatures incapable of reason, thought, or self-control with insatiable sexual lust has endured since slavery. The dehumanization of Black women in media as creatures who are either good, obedient mommy figures or whores undeserving of respect has been recurring from the days of Jim Crow to modern piss-poor.
Mr. Snoopy states they don't want the responsibility, DJ Torch. It appears to be that way clearly. It appears to be that way clearly. The fact that the biggest business on YouTube for Black men is the Black manosphere, and the Black manosphere is anything but about responsibility, makes that a true statement to the utmost.
Observations made by everyone from rappers to teenage TikTokers to struggling podcasters looking for a viral moment.
Today the question is, which do y'all prefer, Black or white females?
Oh, bro. I gotta rock with them Caucasians. I'm not gonna lie. They get it done for me.
For sure.
Both y'all?
Yeah.
In and outside of the Black community, Black women are stereotyped as angry and or lascivious, making them less credible victims in the
You
eyes.
know something? So the only problem I have with this young lady's commentaries, she makes it sound like these negative stereotypes are coming from outside the Black community, when we're quite honestly, especially the ones about women, are coming from inside the community. They're coming from Black men. They're not coming from other races of people. They're not paying us that much attention. They might go, see, told you so. They might do that kind of stuff. But for the most part, it's the Black men Black men are more right now. Black men are expressing more bigotry toward Black women than any other race of men. I can make that statement, and I know it's true. I know it's true. If you don't believe me, head on over, go watch some Kevin Samuel videos, or head on over there to what his name, Section 8. I give him a nickname of Section 8. Go on over there to Anton Daniels, check him out, and you tell me different. You tell me different. You find me somebody else who is not Black, who's given that kind of smoke they give.
Of law enforcement and others. The structural stigma against single unmarried women and the cultural stigma against hoes, body counts, and soul ties can make.
Right. And she named some more things. All of those things that he just said, Caucasian and other people don't even talk about it. They don't refer to Black women like that. So I want to make sure that Black men understand that other races of people don't talk about their women for sure. And our women, they don't even talk about like that at the clip that we do. So that's a problem. That's a problem. I mean, if we are supposed to think about it like this, get this. This is the weirdest thing. If we are going to the best way to help get rid of racism or bigotry or sexism is for the men in our community not to express racism, bigotry, and misogyny, and all the negative aspects, if you know what I mean. And don't get me wrong, Black men, hey, look, a lot of you out there fake like, oh yeah, my brother, yeah. You know, what's going on? Yeah, my brother, yeah. All that kind of shit. But behind, let's face it, behind your brother's back, you're going, them niggas, and blah, blah. All the stereotypes. You say all the stereotypes. So we are, yes, there is racism, but there's racism where we're coming from too. Welcome Henry Mars in the house, Bridget Mouton, Susie Bear in the house. I'm telling you, I've seen it. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of people out there who are not Black who give us a hard time. I will say that. But at the same time, there's just as many or more in the community that give us a hard time. okay, and give women an even harder time.
The thought of being alone, especially troubling for Black women raised to measure their value by their relationship to men. Have you been picked? Do you have a man?
Can I go about getting his attention without seeming crazy and desperate?
You have plans with your boyfriend?
I have a boyfriend.
Okay, so when you get one, no, but when you
By the way, we will be having a BMW festivity, a BMW live stream coming soon.
get one,
So, with dating as hard as it is out here, dealing with unsavory behavior for relationship status or marital security is a tale as old as time. Additionally, there's a cultural expectation for Black women to stand 10 toes down for her community and not send another Black man to jail.
BMW. That'll get it. That'll do us in.
Black woman who decides enough can run the risk of being accused of betraying her partner and her race. The structural issue of mass incarceration therefore makes the issue of race loyalty culturally relevant. These factors lead to a lack of income and opportunities that makes it harder for Black women to escape abusive situations, especially when they are poor or have kids. Speaking
Exactly. That's so true. In the house, Hazelbud.
of kids, reproductive coercion is a major concern for abused women of all races. This is when a partner manipulates the relationship by pressuring pregnancy or sabotaging birth control. All of this leads to women.
Y'all thought, okay, I'm not sure if this is where I cut in, but y'all thought, there was a stereotype out there that Black women trap Black men, when that's the furthest from the truth. And I'll tell you why. Number one, in most cases, by percentage, because there are some well-to-do Black men, but by percentage, Black men, Black women don't have nothing to trap from us. It's funny how people are going, oh yeah, you got to make sure you get a prenup, or you got to make sure. Prenup for what? Prenup for what, bruh? So what's ironic, though, is really it's the reverse. Black men are trapping Black women, because as soon as you get that woman pregnant, she's tied to you for 18 years. That's why, if you really want to know where all the baby mamas come from, it's the baby daddies. And they do it on purpose. I think our community, we want to absolve that insidious notion that men are purposely getting Black women pregnant to control them. Now that's a spot. Think about it. It's either a spot where he can lay his head because that's his kid. So, hey, I get to see my kid. Hey, I need to get some sleep, or for supply of some sort, which is whether it be sex, money, whatever. You see what I'm saying? So it's really what's going on is it's the Black men that are trapping Black women, not the other way around. Because think about it. The Black man irresponsibly makes a woman pregnant. He can just cut. Maybe they find him. Maybe the government finds him and makes him pay. Maybe not. But let's face it, when it comes to the actual caring and nurturing of the child, he can just cut. And they do. I mean, think about it. Really just dig deep down and think about it. It's like, oops. Oh, well, we're not getting along. I'm out. Now, back in the old days, I guess people tried to stay together harder, but for today, there's enough freedom in the United States for a black man to make several women pregnant. Several, and I mean, we can get up to 10, 12, 20. There's some guys with 38 kids and just cut. Just leave. Mr. Newbie says, I have to disagree, Taurus. I know some women that purposely got themselves pregnant by their man or husband, even after he told her that he didn't want any more children. There are instances like that, Mr. Snoopy, but today, I am telling you, it's changed. It's changed. I mean, that is an excellent argument, Mrs. Newby. We can have a debate on that. But from what I've seen and with the stats, most women want to stay with their man. They want to stay with their baby's father if it's possible. But due to DV, due to lack of, the lack of loyalty or monogamy, that's almost impossible. The fellas, they just cut. I'm not saying you're wrong at all, Mr. Snoopy. What I'm saying though is by percentage, there's probably more men who just cut than there are women who are so-called trapping men. Because at the end of the day, you cannot let's face it, a woman cannot make a man stay. You cannot make a man stay. So that is one thing that I wholeheartedly agree with is a woman who get pregnant. Well, you're going to be stuck with the kid. If the guy wants to go, he's going. He can just cut. He might have to cut a check. And it ain't going to be that much, but he might have to cut a check, but he's going to cut. And I still believe that most black women, they want a family. They want security. They want a home over their head. And that's just not what a lot of men are into. I mean, think about it. The biggest group of men on YouTube is the Black Manosphere. And their king, Kevin Samuels, only promoted promiscuity, cheating, multiple baby mamas, and a rotation of 6 women that he pays money on a 1099. Because I call it they just cut generation. They just cut. I hate to say it, but that's just, I'm team black man, but look, I'm not gonna vouch and say, oh yeah, I don't know that brother, but I bet he's loyal. No way. Just taking I'm taking and people are saying, oh yeah, you just listen to Cynthia G. I mean, I took my lessons from the Manosphere. I watched them talk smack about black women. That was one part, but I watched them glorify promiscuity and cutting, leaving. That's why child support is such a big deal to them. Think about it. That's why child support is such a big deal to them, because they know they're out. That's why prenup is such a big deal to them, because they know they're not loyal. They know they're not loyal. They know they're out. I'm not saying all black men, no, but definitely the men who have either a hip hop ideology or a red pill ideology or a pimp ideology, they leaving. They're out. They idolize men with multiple women. And you see how they shit on men that have that just want one wife. They literally shit on them. Let me keep it going. Here we go.
And being more dependent on fathers and informal faith-based support. Speaking of faith-based support, yet another cultural component is the Black church, which has directly and indirectly sanctioned the subservience of Black women in multiple ways, meaning women's issues and concerns were often deprioritized. That's tragic because Black women are the most religious group in the country, and years of internalized sermons and advice that a good woman uplifts her man, the one bestowed upon her by God.
You heard her. You heard what she said. Black women are the most religious group of women in the United States. It don't get no better than that. What is the number one thing in religion? Is monogamy and family. There's nothing you can do about that. There's not, ladies, there's nothing you can do about it. When a man wants to cut, he gonna cut. He gonna leave. Y'all wondering what I mean by cut? That's an old school word for leaving. I'm a cut. It's what, 90s maybe even earlier than that. Susie Bear says nothing about the whole culture, character, morals do anything. Two, sex nothing about their whole culture, character, morals to do anything. Two, sexual nothing about the whole culture, character, morals do. Yep. Jackie, thank you. Please everybody subscribe, like and subscribe. It ain't no job. If you hit that like button, it costs you absolutely nothing. It's free 99. Let me keep it going.
And sticks by him is all too common. Out of all abused women, Black women are the most likely to turn to their faith, religion, and faith community for support. These structural, cultural, and situational layers often go ignored or pushed to the wayside in divisive arguments that ultimately help nobody. It's part of the reason why Black women committed to divesting think violence against Black women would disappear if they simply date white men. I don't need to list out the number of white terrorists, serial killers, and family annihilators to make my point that divestor women have been structurally indoctrinated into believing white men are superior to.
Well, this is my take, and I'm a Black man, right? Yes, there are some situations where a woman is like any white man will do theory, which is not going to work for you. And I'll tell you why. The one problem with that theory is that if any white man will do, you will probably end up with the same white man that you had as a Black man that made you go date a white man. If you see what I mean, there's Caucasian bandits too. Okay, let's just put it that way. But this is the thing. Divesting is really, come on, it's a very enticing notion. And this is coming from a Black man. And I'll tell you why. Because the numbers line up. The numbers line up. It's a numbers game. If you're looking for a Black prince, your odds are 10-1 of just finding a prince. Let me repeat that. If you're just strictly looking for a Black prince, king, whatever you want to say, the odds are numerically 10-1 that you will. Your odds are, you're more likely, if you will just date anyone who fits into the king or prince department and not the bandit department, by vast numbers, it's going to be some other race of man. Just by vast, Black men are outnumbered a lot. Good Black men are outnumbered a lot. So to corner yourself strictly with just Black men, with the minimal amount of prime quality Black men, versus the millions of other options, you're going to get hurt and have been hurt or will get hurt. Or now, don't get me wrong. If you're extremely patient, you will find that black man. You will. Extremely patient. Extremely patient. But the numbers is like this. There's 20 million black men in the United States, correct? There are 230 million Caucasian men. Let me repeat that to you one more time. That's just Caucasian men. I haven't gotten to Asian, Latin, other. Okay? There's 20 million black men in the United States. There's 230 million Caucasian men in the United States. Mathematically, you can literally subtract all the bad Caucasian men, all the Caucasian men that aren't checking for black women, all the Caucasian men that, I don't know, they just, they're just not, they're in prison or whatever, right? All the Caucasian men that nobody wants, right? And you're still going to get at least 30 million viable Caucasian men. And that's just Caucasian men. We haven't got to the Asian men, which I know is a much lower number, or the Latin men, which is a moderately lower number, just because there's less of them, and cultural reasons too. But you have to understand there's a big difference. Odds are odds. And the thing is this, don't get me wrong. Believe it or not, if you think open, as far as open your dating options, or think open, it doesn't mean you're not going to end up with a black man, but I guarantee you not. You will, if you do that, you will end up with a better quality black man, because he's competing against all the better quality men that you get to choose from all the other races. You haven't cornered yourself in the market. It's like this. When you shop for groceries, do you want to go to the 7-Eleven, or do you want to go to like a real Safeways, Kroger's, or something like that? There you go. There you go. It's a numbers game. You know that when you go to when you go to a 7-Eleven, you're going to have to take whatever they got, right? Because they just don't have the volume. Well, Kroger's, Safeways, all them big markets, guess what? They got variety. Notice how I said that. They have variety, including chocolate. But when you go to that store and it has all that variety, you start picking up, you go to the Whole Foods, and now you have your choice between the best of the best. That's the mindset you have to put yourself in. I mean, if you want to do ride or die, you can ride and then you can die if you want to. But even as I'm just telling you, as a black man, okay, you have more options, ladies, than you think you do. And I know you only think you do, because if you did, the stats would be different. If you really knew you did, the stats would be different. And I know this is Crime Sundays, and we are going to get into some sad stuff soon, but I want you to think about it like this. Okay. Never mind. Let me get it back into this. Here we go.
And less violent than black men, because it should be obvious. But that's not my only complaint. I've got smoke for everyone. Pro-black men invested in positive representations of the black community would rather sweep the brutal treatment of black women under the rug. Take prison abolitionists who don't believe in incarcerating or executing abusers and murderers of women. They acknowledge the changes that need to happen to make the system more equitable and intimate partner violence obsolete. But sometimes their casual write-offs as women who challenge abolitionist ideology as carceral feminists who simply don't understand or who are committed to harm rather than being committed to their own fucking survival is tone deaf. Amid the rise of Black women and children caught in gun crossfire, like in places like Philadelphia, at what point do we question violence of all kinds? When DaBaby brought out Tory Lanez, the man who shot Megan Thee Stallion at Rolling Loud, the same festival that allowed alleged abuser Lil Uzi Vert, alleged sex trafficker Blueface, and convicted rapist and woman beater Kodak Black to perform, I'm sure he never thought in a million years that he would be canceled and kicked off the roster of several festivals. Not because he brought out the man who shot his estranged collaborator moments after she performed, throwing a restraining order into possible violation and serving as a metaphorical slap in the face, but instead because he made homophobic remarks and doubled down on them. While I'm glad that DaBaby is facing consequences for his maliciousness, the incident showed that violence against women, particularly Black ones, is not enough to render a celebrity undesirable. In the mainstream,
Let me pause right there. That is so true. Let's get to the meat of the matter, folks. Tonight, we are talking about Femicide 101, Crime Sundays, and I'm going to break it down to you right now with the story of the Grim Sleeper. Here we go.
The crime, the dimensions of which are still unknown. Police believe that Lonnie Franklin Jr. murdered at least 10 people, all African-American women from South Central Los Angeles, beginning in 1985. Authorities have been hard put to explain, however, a seeming gap in Franklin's alleged crimes between the years 1998 and 2002. Well, this apparent hiatus earned Franklin the nickname the Grim Sleeper. But now new evidence has come to light, and David Wright reports.
They're faces from the past, 180 of them. Some smiling, some sleeping, some may even be dead. Images collected by a suspected serial killer. All of these people are potential victims?
I hope not. But they interacted with Lonnie Franklin at some point in their life.
Detective Dennis Kilcoyne of the LAPD's Robbery Homicide Unit says all of these images were taken from the home of Lonnie Franklin Jr., the man suspected to be the Grim Sleeper serial killer.
We searched every nook and cranny of this residence and the big commercial building that it had in the backyard. Vehicles, glove boxes, under seats, everywhere. We gathered cameras, videos, and all types of stuff from all over the property. We are dealing with probably decades of photography by this guy because he is obviously the cameraman.
And because Lonnie Franklin seems to have been the cameraman, police are treating each of these images as a mystery that needs to be solved.
Every one of these photos is going to be another story as to the life and times of Lonnie Franklin.
Franklin was arrested last summer after DNA evidence allegedly tied him to 10 murders dating back 25 years, most of them Black women from South Central LA. The murderer was nicknamed the Grim Sleeper because he was dormant for 14 years until 2002 when he started to murder again. Is your working theory that this Grim Sleeper,
This is painful as hell.
as he's known, who was quiet, it seems, for 14 years, may not have been quiet for those years?
Well, I don't believe for a minute he was quiet. I mean, he was right here, lived in the same place.
You think he kept on killing?
Well, I don't know if he was killing, but I don't think Lonnie Franklin changed his stripes over a period of years. I think he's the same man he was 30 years ago.
Franklin's attorney strongly objects to the release of the photos on the grounds that making them public will prejudice the jury pool against him.
It's not just the photographs that were released to the public. That's the problem. It's also the commentary that went along with the release by the public officials.
Mr. Franklin is accused of murdering at least 10 young women and one man in South Los Angeles, sending fear and terror throughout the streets of South LA.
At the news conference last week, the mayor and the police chief both spoke as though Lonnie Franklin had already been proven guilty.
Let me pause it right there for 1 second because Lonnie Lonnie Franklin. I'm doing some behind the scenes right now. Yep, the Grim Sleeper. Trying to find out the most recent thing. Most recent. That's how he looks right now. Yep, something to know about Lonnie after Lonnie Franklin's death. Thank God he's gone. That's the best thing that's the best news I got. The victims were young, vulnerable Black women who lived in South Los Angeles and struggled with drug addiction. Their naked, partially clothed bodies were dumped in filthy neighborhoods, alleyways, left to rot under garbage and debris. Dang. They were shot close range at 2.5 with the pew pew. For years, cases lacked justice, even for an arrest. Wow. I mean, but in May 2016, following 3 months testimony, the Superior Court, Lonnie Franklin, the Grim Sleeper killer, prosecutors say stalked LA for more than 20 years, was found guilty of deleting 9 women and 1 teenager. And we know it's probably a lot more than that. He was married to a former Army corporal. Wow, that's interesting. He was an predator about power and control. Man. He was convicted of deleting 10 people and attempting to delete another. Police believe he deleted at least 6 more. DNA cracked the case. Wow. He's all bad. So, I mean, the one thing that Black men back in the day, we were able to hang our hat on is that we did not have a stigma for being, called a, serial, deleters. We weren't called that. Now it seems that that is crumbling as well. Yeah, Susie Bear says Divested Zealot covered the story. It's all bad. It's all bad. This guy is all bad. Let me go back to the video. And quite honestly, I think he's on his way to being. He would be one if he wasn't watched so much. I guarantee you. I hate to say it. I have just no faith in that in Diddy at all. I think he would fit it right in. Back to this. Here we go.
People are not suspects. We don't even know if they're victims, but we do know this. Lonnie Franklin's reign of terror in the city of Los Angeles, which spanned well over 2 decades.
But there are significant questions heading into the trial.
Susie Bear, you nailed it. He said that he chose Black women as his perfect victim because he knew nobody would care. And they didn't.
Well, in part because the DNA that first led police to Franklin's doorstep wasn't his. It was his son's.
Familial DNA, it's called. Yeah.
It's called familial DNA because it is the DNA not of the ultimate suspect, but of a very, very close relative.
Authorities in the LAPD's cold case unit processed DNA from the crime scenes and looked for a match in the state's DNA database. In California, anyone arrested for a felony must give a DNA sample, whether or not they're ever charged or convicted. In this case, the match came back positive for a relative of the suspect. Police then narrowed down the list of possible relatives before zeroing in on Lonnie Franklin. It's the first time familial DNA has ever been used to try and solve a murder case. But authorities had no DNA sample from Franklin, so they staked him out until they got one.
And what was it? A slice of pizza, I think a fork, there was a napkin. It was a total of
wow, they were going through the garbage.
8 different items that they submitted to us.
And that was enough.
it turned out to be enough, yes.
Enough, allegedly, to match DNA from the crime scenes. But will it hold up in court?
Mr. Simpson, would you show your hands to the jury, please?
Anyone who followed the People versus O.J. Simpson can tell you, even when the DNA evidence seems like a slam dunk, that doesn't guarantee a conviction. Of course, in the era of CSI, juries have become a lot more comfortable with DNA evidence.
Gentlemen, that drop of blood was fresh when it hit the shirt.
If Lonnie Franklin is convicted, it could mean a nationwide expansion of familial DNA.
This will change the way policing is done in the United States.
This was done 13 years ago, so I'm pretty sure it's in the mix. I'm sure it is in the mix.
And if the case suddenly becomes much bigger, with new victims identified among these women, then the focus will be more intense than ever. As soon as the LAPD posted these photos last Thursday, the response was huge.
Within a matter of hours, well into the millions of hits. It was pretty
I
mind.
assume that they can actually do a face match online now to find out whether these women are still around or not. That would help a lot.
Boggling to me.
LAPD robbery homicide.
There have been hundreds of phone calls, too, each of them providing a lead that now needs to be followed up, each one a potential clue into the mind of a serial killer.
You know, these guys, they do strange things, and sometimes they take pictures, sometimes they leave a mark, sometimes they call the police and tell on themselves. It's a whole science to that, I'm sure, but not for me.
Right. A grim science. So far, 29 of the photos have been removed from the website, their subjects identified. 8 were duplicates, some are alive and well, others died of natural causes. But one was a known victim of the Grim Sleeper, identified by her family. The LAPD says its goal is to know what happened to each and every one of them.
Time's on our side now because Mr. Franklin is sitting in a jail, and he's not going to hurt anybody. And so we've got all the time in the world to track down the names to these faces now.
Hoping to...
Let me pause it right there for a minute. See, the problem I have with justice reform is, who is the reform for? I want the justice reform for nonviolent offenders, jaywalkers, mild, that type of stuff. Like somebody who gets arrested for the wrong reasons, or gets arrested because he looked at a police officer funny. Those are the guys I want let go. Dudes like this, like the Grim Sleeper, oh, by all means, law enforcement, do what you want. Do what you want. I don't care about how well he's treated or anything. That's how, I'm sorry, folks. He wants to go out there. You have to send a message like, look, okay, you can't go out there and delete black women and be cool with it. And you're going to be treated good in prison. No. Put them in a box. And I mean a pine box. I mean like a box, like 4x4. I'm sorry. You have to give a deterrent to tell the community and United States that you can't mess with black women like that. You just can't. That's just the feeling I'm sorry to say it, but that's just the way it is. Reform fairness in the justice system. Reform, making sure that an innocent black man does not go to jail. Okay? That's what you look for. But monsters, no. For some reason, to me, it looks like we want to support monsters. I bet there's more people who want to support Diddy and R. Kelly than those who want to support just a regular man who's in there for no reason. And we know R. Kelly's a monster, and we know Diddy's a monster. We got to let law enforcement know we are cool with you sending these monsters wherever they need to go. As long as you know they're the monsters. Here we go.
When it comes to missing children, it turns out that social media audiences tend to play favorites based on race. USA Today looked at social media posts on the Facebook page of the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. And what they found is that over a 3-year period, people tend to be more engaged when the missing children are white, especially white girls. More interesting is that the site actually posted more about missing Black children, but the engagement there, it just wasn't as high as when the missing child was white. In fact, a single post about a missing white girl was viewed on average of 63,000 times for a Caucasian child, compared to 38,000 views for posts about Black girls who are missing. Anita's here now with one of those stories.
You know, and you hear that, and it's so frustrating, especially for Black families that are looking for their loved ones. And it just goes to say, like, why is that? Why do people feel like this is more important than somebody else? And so frustrating, you know, Sylvia, when you talk to the detectives in Chicago, you can just hear the frustration in their voice. I mean, they face challenges trying to solve the current crime scenes, and there are many, and then let alone trying to find the killer or killers in these dozens of cold cases that are decades old. Take a look at this map. These are areas of our city where all of these unsolved cases remain. Now, Gerald Hamilton worked with some of these crime scenes on the city's south side, and he remembers many cases of strangled Black women who were found dead inside abandoned buildings or vacant lots. Those victims still haunt him even today.
If I was doing something, this would be one of the perfect places to do it.
It takes a special kind of person to be a Chicago police detective. But for more than a decade, that is what Gerald Hamilton did while working for CPD. The 25-year veteran is retired now, but his quest to find out who is behind the mysterious murders of dozens of Black women has never ended.
It's a very small subset of all the murders that we have in Chicago.
Since 1995, at least 51 women have been strangled to death. This is one of those crime scenes posted on social media by Chicago police. All of the unsolved cases involve women who were strangled to death, and most of them are African American. Most of them were found in abandoned buildings or vacant lots like this one, where the body of 21-year-old Teresa Bunn was found.
She was pretty too.
Hamilton says she was strangled, stripped naked, and stuffed underneath a pile of garbage that had been set on fire. Even more tragic, Bunn was 8 months pregnant.
How could 51 women or, you know, a number of people come up missing or dead and this or that? And how come everybody doesn't know about that? I mean, it's like, that should be like, everybody knows about that, because as we've often said, I mean, some little girl gets, you know, mislaid on a hiking trail in Colorado or somewhere, and then it's national news and everybody's got 100 theories all the way to Alaska about what happened to it. And they follow that story and we don't get highlighted.
Whoever is behind these attacks, Hamilton says, is familiar with the areas and able to escape unnoticed. The victims range in age, too. Some were teenagers, others middle-aged. Hamilton says killers know how this encounter is going to end when they lure the victims to their death.
It's one thing like, hey, you know, I've got an urge and I'll just run up and strangle somebody, kill somebody and run away. That's not this. This is, you know, a person that's, you know, stalking these people. And some of the people willingly go in there. Obviously, they don't know they're going to be strangled and killed and stuff. You know, they may go in there under the guidelines of the person saying, hey, we're going to go up in here and party together or something. And that happens. His mindset is, you're going to be the 12th person that, you know, that I'm going to kill. I'm leaving out of this building, but you're not. He knows that going in. She doesn't.
And strangulation murders stand out among the other crimes because these crimes are very personal. And Hamilton suspects it gives the killer or killers a sadistic form of control by slowly choking the life out of the victim.
The power that they've got, they've become God in some sixth sense.
In a city like Chicago,
This is sad.
where detectives are working nonstop, going from crime scene to crime scene, how do detectives now follow a predator's trail when it constantly goes cold over 27 years?
My solution to this is extreme surveillance Wherever they can legally put a camera there. They have the drones up. I mean, drones and cameras and everything. That's the only way. The only way that these monsters are going to stop is if they know they're not going to get away with it. If you can convince them that they're not going to get away with it by making examples of these monsters being caught, then they won't stop. So you have to deterrence. I know it sounds weird, like, well, what is the camera going to do? After a while, after they start seeing that dudes are getting picked off, or being picked up and stuff, or doing stuff to people, whether it be assault or worse, these monsters are going to pick up on that and say, I don't think this is a spot to be. That's what's going to happen. Because nobody, even monsters, don't want to go to prison. They really don't. Some of them are built for it. They'll say that, but they don't want to go. They want the freedom to do this, what you're seeing on screen.
Hamilton says in order to catch a criminal, you need to think like one.
No, you got to start thinking about, where do I see the bear crap? Where does a bear need to sleep? They have to sleep eventually.
Gosh, this leaves you with such an unsettled feeling. So I can only imagine how the families feel. What are police saying about this, Anita?
Well, it's interesting that you asked that because we did reach out to the police department and they told us that these cases remain open investigations, but at this point they have no reason to believe that they're connected. Now that is the official word, but at least 3 homicide detectives that I have spoken to off the record, they disagree. They say that some of these cases are connected, but whether it's one person or several people doing the same thing to these.
Chicago's off the hook. What they need to do is literally double the police force. And that, I don't mean just, beat walkers and that kind of stuff. I'm talking about a whole nother building for technology and surveillance and for crime solving. It should get to the point where they are literally fighting for crime solving gigs there at the police station. I mean, like, no, I want that one. I want that one. That kind of thing. I mean, literally, it's the only way. There's no other way to do it. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's improving the quality of living as well, which should help too. But you're just going to have to make the place secure first.
Victims they don't know. But as Gerald Hamilton told us, you guys, is that these strangulation murder cases, they make up such a very small percentage. He estimates about 1% of all of the open cases. And he says if the department would just dedicate a team to solving some of these crimes, that we could possibly have some solution and closure for these families and justice, possibly.
And that's
like I said, that sounds like to me they don't have enough people around. Double it. I mean, obviously we want police reform. We want the police to be in the right mindset. We want police that are going to treat and respect people, all of that. Okay, we want that, but double the force, double it. And then a whole building, I mean, a whole Amazon-sized building just for the surveillance geeks, for all the CSI geeks and all that kind of stuff. If you really want to solve crime and make the United States a better place, you're going to have to do it. You're going to have to do it big. You're going to have to do it big.
Of course, what the families want more than anything is closure and justice. We were talking in the commercial break about some of the reaction that you're starting to get from these stories. You want to talk about that?
We did the story at 6:00 this morning as well.
I think they're just talking. Let me break down another one. Let's talk about Sam Little. Here we go.
On Prime Crime.
How do you pick the ones that you think you're going to kill? Depends on how I met.
The story of one of America's most infamous murderers.
Because he did this same MO over and over again, he got very good at it.
His own words on the killings.
Did you have any conversation with her?
My mind was on killing her.
And hear from the people who sat across from evil.
I'll never in my life ever interview another killer like that in my career.
Pluck me another grave. I'm in grief, so y'all got on to find him.
Let me bring the volume up a little bit.
Hey there, everybody. I'm Jesse Weber, and welcome to Prime Crime. This is where we do a deeper dive into the most high-profile and memorable true crime cases. Our next story is about a killer so renowned, we had to dedicate 2 shows to this case. Here is part 1. In 1970, a woman is strangled to death and buried in a shallow grave out in Florida. From there, for the next 35 years, bodies would be found across different states. No connection, no prime suspect. It would take decades before these cases would be solved and finally connected to one man.
Phoenix Soul breaks it down like this. Honestly, if punishment was deletion, period, no due process, that would deter so much more. That's true. Bars. Yep.
She was pretty, a light-skinned, brown, honey-colored kin.
This is Samuel Little, also known as Samuel McDowell.
I met her in a nightclub in New Orleans. So I cut off, I took off the exit, went, and that sure enough was the road leading into the woods. And we went in and parked.
He may not look like much when investigators began interviewing him in 2018, in his late 70s and suffering from health conditions. But the man you're seeing was the most prolific serial killer in United States history.
I grabbed her by the legs and pulled her to the water. Mm-hmm. That's the only one that I ever killed by drowning.
That's just one confession of many that Little provided to authorities after his capture at the then age of 71.
I'll never in my life ever interview another killer like that in my career. You know, you first see him, he's this little old man in a wheelchair that will remind me of a little old man on a porch.
I mean, look at him. He's all, look at this. This is what is so creepy. He's actually happy about it. What a sick F.
Ever killed by drowning.
That's just one confession of many that Little provided to authorities after his capture at the then age of 71.
I'll never in my life ever interview another killer like that in my career. You know, you first see him, he's this little old man in a wheelchair that will remind me of a little old man on a porch, rocking in a chair, telling you his stories about his life, although his stories were demented.
North Little Rock. Tell me what that girl looked like.
Oh man, I loved her. She was a heavy set, big old yellow hair. And had buck teeth. It had a gap between the teeth everywhere. She's too big for me to carry her. So I just pulled her out of the car and laid her on that trash that was lit there.
There was no remorse whatsoever. It was a matter of fact. I got him to kill. He went into great detail on his crimes.
That's an important thing you need to understand. When you notice somebody who has no remorse, and it can be when they have no remorse like that, especially about even regular things, like somebody who supposed to pick you up at a certain time and they just forget, and then they act like you know, it means nothing. That's a dangerous person. That means that person has there's no soul in there. Phoenix Soul says, please tell me that POS is a spirit now. Unfortunately, he's incarcerated. I don't think he's a spirit yet because this was only filmed 1 year ago.
Oh, the only thing I know is that I killed him.
And that was your intent?
That was my intent.
Sam Little ultimately confessed to 93 murders from 1970.
Jeez. Sorry about yelling in the mic. Susie Bear breaks it down perfectly. I'm sorry, DJ. Because of the capitalistic greed, all of these areas in our infrastructure are corrupt. Bars.
1970 to 2005. That's more than Ted Bundy, the Zodiac Killer, and the Golden State Killer combined.
We know of at least
How did
9
he get away with not being zapped? I don't get that.
93 women who were murdered. He was not going to stop. He actually told police that he found it sexually satisfying to rape and kill women.
In order to really understand Sam
Says
Little's
he was
reign
not
of
going to stop.
He
That's another
found it
thing.
sexually.
That's another thing that sociopaths will say. They will tell you when they're doing something bad and they know it's bad, they will say, I'm not going to stop. They will say that.
Were murdered. He was not going to stop. He actually told police that he found it sexually satisfying to rape and kill women.
In order to really understand Sam Little's reign of terror, let's first dig into the killings themselves. Like many serial killers, Sam Little had an MO.
Did you ever shoot any of these girls?
Shoot.
Yeah, with a gun?
I get no kicks out of shooting.
All right. So everything was done by manual strangulation. Did you ever use like a belt or cloth or
No
anything?
garrots on it. No,
No ligatures at all?
my hands.
Just your
And
hands?
without that, I wouldn't want to do it.
He would take his hands and he would put them on their throats and he would choke them, and sometimes he would allow them to revive so he could see the fear in their eyes before choking them out finally.
I was squeezing hard enough for the breath could be cut off. And sooner or later, she gonna start wanting to catch a breath. And that's when she tried to pull my hands off. It was too late, man.
Was it exciting to you at the time?
Yes, it was.
He's a sadistic.
Bars, Susie Bear, whether it be healthcare, CPS, mental health, police departments, none of them are designed to put the actual human beings first or further humanity.
Killer for sure. He wanted to feel like their neck swallowing. And I think his foreplay, basically, he would take a lot of them to eat, and they would go eat and swallow and drink. And I think that was his foreplay. That's what got him excited, is watching that neck.
So how was it that Little was able to commit dozens of rapes and murders without getting caught?
The reason Sam Little went undetected for so many years is because of who he targeted, primarily drug-addicted women and sex workers.
They didn't know who the hell was doing it.
Yeah.
I don't go back to the same city sometimes and pluck me another grape. How many grapes? So y'all got on to find him.
Sure.
That one, right?
There's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So basically, these were women nobody would miss.
He knew which women would be not cared about. He knew which women would not be missed. He knew which women would be susceptible to.
He's a bandit. A bandit.
To his advances, whether they're romantic or he was providing them drugs or providing them alcohol.
She was a hoe, yeah. She's a hoe. She was trying to make some money now.
He knew which women on the lower levels of our society he could actually lure into his car, to take to a secluded place, to quickly kill them in the dead of night where nobody could see them, and then to dump their body immediately and get out of Dodge. This is how he got away with it. And I'm not just saying, he says it.
Long as you didn't get in out there with the people that will be immediately missed, and very important to either family or business or somebody.
Yeah, you got pretty good at knowing which ones.
Still, I'm not going to go over in the white neighborhood and pick out the little young teenage girl or like the idiots do. You know?
And that's how Little got away with it over and over again. And because he did this secret, because he did this same MO over and over again, he got very good at it.
Coming up, Little had spent his life in and out of prison and had almost been captured before. So what happened?
I've been lucky on numerous times.
Yeah.
That's just crazy to me. How they had him in prison but they didn't know he did what he did. And it makes you think, it's like, how many dudes in prison are like that? Or how many dudes who have like a rap sheet, have done stuff like this and got away with it. It makes you think, makes you wonder.
I wanted to be in the back somewhere concealed.
So she was already dead in the car?
Yeah.
Okay.
After Samuel Little is arrested in 2012 on a narcotics charge, investigators realize he's actually responsible for several cold case killings. Little would ultimately confess to 93 murders. Prior to his capture, though, Little was a man who had been arrested almost 100 times and only spent a total of 10 years behind bars.
Okay, so this is the confusion and problem I have. What is going on with the justice system where we're letting out monsters? I mean, what happened here? I mean, it's funny because we see stuff like this all the time. How did he get out?
How was he not connected to these crimes sooner? And more importantly, how was he still on the streets for all this time?
I was lucky in Florida. I had a dead body in the car. Got to get choked out. Yes, I'm getting ready. But boom, 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 blue lights everywhere. Police car and come back behind the building. He seen us parked there. I jumped out the car and tried to act like I was zipping my pants. He said, "Oh, we're all over. What's going on over here?" I said, "Nothing." I said, "Me and my wife just coming in the course." Damn car looked in that window with a flashlight. I'm telling you, shining right on the girl. She lay up there like that.
And she's dead.
Dead.
Yeah.
And as soon as he was looking in there, I said, "Yeah, right here." I got his mind off of her. Just in the nick of time before he took a second look. And I got away like that. He said, "Well, you got to get out of him." Wow. I got in the car and took off.
The police weren't able to put together a strong case against him because he himself knew how to get away without leaving a lot of evidence.
I never cut, stabbed, burnt, bit. No, none of that. No blood. I don't like blood.
He would initially strike his victims in the head and then strangle them. And I think ultimately, when you think about this, you're not going to have any forensic evidence later. The bodies have deteriorated. So there were no markings. You couldn't see knife wounds to bones. You could not see gunshot bullets. There was no fractures in these bodies.
Mind about pig farmers.
Dang. Let me play something for you real quick.
Why don't you say anything about police brutality? You never speak out about police killing people.
When last time police done killed a nigga?
That shit happens a lot.
But
it may not be George Floyd media status, but that shit happens a lot.
Okay, so I often look at those statistics. The police shoot more mentally ill white men than anybody. The white boy mama who done called the police on him because he had to have. So if you look at the statistics, the police on an average shoot more white people than they do black people. I'm a guy.
There's a lot more Caucasian people than black people. That's one thing. So I don't know if I can understand what he means by bulk, but per capita, I don't think so. Here we go.
It's big on statistics. Police shootings, and I want people to really hear me, homie. Police shootings, killing the unarmed nigga, is the least of our problems in America. It's the least of our problems. They ain't shot now nigga on his way to school. They ain't shot no nigga getting off work. They ain't shot no nigga in a high visibility construction vest. They ain't shot a nigga in no suit. They ain't shot now nigga with his pants pulled up and his shirt tail tucked in. They ain't shot it.
That may not be true.
When I watch the country not have no outrage for Tamir Rice, there was no need for me to speak. There was no need for me to speak on police brutality. because police brutality is small compared to black on black homicide rates. Police brutality is small to the 73% of households that are headed by single women.
Exactly, Susie. That's why I play it, because when they, at least maybe they'll listen to him and realize that if they want to complain about police brutality, well, they should complain about, you know, femicide at least 10 times as much, because that's about the number. That's about the ratio. No, it's probably more like 100, maybe even 1,000 times as much.
Brutality is small compared to only 36% of black children can read on or above their grade level. Police brutality.
That's black boys, not black girls. Black girls can read well.
It's small when you got over 2 million children in the United States of America who suffer from hunger. Nah, homie, that's the least of our problem.
So I hope that makes a point there. Let me go back to here. Back to this man. I know how, you know how he got away with it? He got away with it because Samuel Little got away with it because no snitching rule. Remember that? The no snitching rule? Yeah, that got him through some years. Yeah. And that black male warship. This is what happens. And somebody knew. You know. Phoenix Soul breaks it down just like this. It's not police brutality. It's not black on black violence. It's not even femicide. It's that XY problem. Period. Here we go.
They found a girl that laying in the field next to Big Farm. All the mother in ate off of the rats got over.
Sam Little would dispose of bodies in the Everglades. He would roll them down hills. He would put them in densely forested areas.
She was like partially concealed by the vegetation and left for there.
DNA didn't really start being utilized until the mid-1990s. So he was able to get away with any type of sexual crimes.
Alabama did the same thing. I had this black chick.
He's been in jail too much. And the thing is weird because we complain about justice reform, but it can't be that bad if we're letting serial killers walk around. Shoot. Don't get me wrong. I think, again, we need to focus more on getting the jaywalkers from being put in jail and stuff like that. But how does this guy get out? How does he get out? Because look at the damage he did. Over 100 people at least. And I think they're going to say it's over 200 people. You want that kind of Sue? That's a lot of people.
They called you. And just got through killing them. That's mother pulled up with the sheriff pulled up.
Nobody ran the plate or anything like that.
No.
So they didn't put that on.
He didn't run the plate. Nobody, no, he wasn't looking for no. They found the body, man, about a month later.
Even though he had 100 arrests and served only 10 years prison time, I would blame partially the criminal justice system because a lot of the cases against him were dismissed. They weren't followed up with, and he was fleeing constantly. He was very transient and leaving to different areas, cities across the nation.
Little had had close calls before, but nothing may have come as close as to when he was directly tied to two brutal murders.
We caught him. We believed he was responsible for Melinda Lupre's murder in 1982. And we know absolutely he was responsible for Patricia Mount's case.
Now, when you were driving around with Patricia Mount in the front passenger seat, did you have any conversation with her?
My mind was on killing her. She let me feel her throat, I was caressing it. And before I knew it, I tied my hands around it and strangled her to death.
After Patricia Mount's nude body was found in that hayfield, hair fibers and witness testimony linked Little to the killing, and he went on trial. Yet once again, it was Little's lucky day. The jury found him not guilty. As for Melinda Lepre, a grand jury opted not to indict him.
Other media has
Wow.
come to us saying, if y'all had just tried him and he was in jail, all these people would be alive. And I will tell you that Melinda Lepre had been out in the elements for over 3 weeks. And if you saw a picture of her remains, you would understand there were no evidence there to gain. There were so many things, so many times that he was arrested for assaulting women, and the women were ladies of the night. They were on drugs. Those don't make the best witnesses, unfortunately.
A combination of lack of hard evidence, issues with witnesses, and Little's own ways of covering up his crimes resulted in weak cases and him continually striking plea deals for shorter prison stints. Jillian Lauren, a New York Times bestselling author and someone who spent hours interviewing Sam Little, has made it her mission to be the voice of these victims.
Because of the fact that they were often prostitutes, often drug addicts, often women of color, women who were considered unimportant, or as some cops used to talk about, the women who were turning up in South Central dead almost every morning in the 80s. NHI, No Humans Involved. But, it wasn't just cops. He was tried by a jury of his peers. Once again, it's us who let him go.
Exactly. Back, they probably said, oh, yeah, we don't, that, oh, you can't, you don't want to incarcerate them brothers. You don't want to incarcerate him. He didn't do nothing wrong. He's being framed. He's being framed. And in return, what does he do? Deletes a lot, at least 200 families broken. Susie Bear breaks it down. But DJ, the problem is that Black people do want the murderers, violent Black males, to come to the streets because they empathize with them. Ours. It's sad, but it's
Up
where we're at.
next, Little's crime spree comes to an end, but his story is just beginning.
I had desire, strong desire, to her and kill her.
And she played with you a little bit on the way out there, and you killed her in the car.
Yes, I would try for it.
You beat it too.
Samuel Little, who's come to be known as the most prolific serial killer in United States history and whose crime spree spanned from 1970 to 2005, was able to elude justice for years. That is, until 2012.
The prosecutors and the police were never able to actually pin a case on him until he left his DNA.
California actually had a case where they had run DNA on a cold case, and they had an identical case, or one that was a similar MO. And when they tested that DNA, the DNA came back to an identical person in Sam Little.
In September 2012, Little was arrested in a homeless shelter in Kentucky on an outstanding California drug charge. When he was extradited back to LA, investigators such as Detective Mitzi Roberts were able to link Little's DNA to material left at crime scenes in the 1980s.
I was already putting together a Sam Little case because I was working all the cold cases here in my area in Mississippi. Los Angeles, Mitzi Roberts called asking, did we have anything about a Sam Little case? So she came down, interviewed our witnesses to put together a method, an MO of the killer Sam Little. It fit everything with their cases.
In 2014, Little was convicted of the murders of 3 of his victims, Carol Alford, Audrey Nelson, and Guadalupe Apodaca. But in a way, Little was also answering for all the women he had killed.
They were human beings in that they were all totally different. They're you.
In September 2014, Little was sentenced to 3 consecutive life terms in prison without the possibility of parole. While Little had maintained his innocence his whole life, in 2018, he finally decided to open up to investigators.
What's up, man?
It's so good to meet you, and I'd like to personally thank you for being generous enough with your time.
I hope I can clear up.
Yeah, he got plenty of that. He's got 3 life sentences.
When somebody is incarcerated and they know they're spending their life in jail, their communication with the outside world is in essence gone.
You're so valuable to society at this point, I think.
I'm worth something to these people. I thought I was a worthless.
Wow, did you hear this shit?
Thank you. Thank you for saying that I'm worth something.
He opened up because it was his exit strategy. This was, again, part of his overall plan. This guy definitely was ready to talk as soon as he knew that he wasn't going to be receiving the death penalty.
That's the letter that you requested, that our state attorney will not pursue the death penalty under any circumstances.
Now the question became, how do you get Little to open up?
But I'd love to talk to you about Gainesville a little bit. You know, that's where I live and work.
I'm not a Gator fan. I'll tell you right now.
You must be Ohio State, right? You know what Urban did for our Gators, though.
Yeah.
Now, you were a USC fan too, or
no. I can't stand California fans.
But you lived out in California for a while.
I've lived there several times.
Going to be Little's interview for sure. Wanted to make sure that myself, as a prosecutor, was going to be somebody that he wouldn't mind talking to. We knew that he liked the Cleveland Browns. He's from the Cleveland.
Exactly. Phoenix. So why are they stroking him? Oh my effing God. I hate him. And the wound that they bore him. Yep. I feel you, Phoenix. So, you know, I think that it's disgusting. It's repulsive to hear them talk to him so nice. But I believe they did that because they wanted to get the most out of him. I'm not at any level justifying the repulsion I feel from them being now, oh wow, you did that, but you know that I guess it's their job. Guess it's your job. Maybe they'll find some other dude or maybe they'll find out his son was doing it too. I don't know. It's repulsive though.
Area. We're from the Cleveland, and so that kind of was our cash, if you will, to be able to build this rapport with him.
What do you remember about it?
Talking shit.
Talking.
How I did it, I talked to him straight. I told him he was a big perv. And I told him I didn't agree with him. He would say, "What'd you call me? A perverted homicidal maniac?" And I said, "Well, that's like certainly one of the things I'd call you." And he was just like, "Whatever, you're a hoe." I was mostly kind of honest with him.
Coming up, Little may have confessed to numerous murders, but how do we know if he was telling the truth? More when we return.
All right. That's crazy. I mean, what I find is most people, even liars, they'll tell the well, no, actually there are some dudes and women that won't tell the truth. No matter what. They're just pathological liars. They'll even lie when it doesn't benefit them. But anyway, back to this. This is really just wow. Wow. That's all I can say. Let's go to see how it is in South Africa.
South Africa is not a safe place for us young women. Women are getting killed every day and no justice is being given.
On the 12th of May, 2017, two friends, Poppy and Bongeka, were headed for a night
Act Natural Under Pressure
out in Soweto. They hailed a minibus taxi, but after that they weren't heard from again.
Around the time, there's a lot of stories of girls getting killed in Soweto. Going there to identify them, I was very scared.
Poppy and Bongeka had been killed. Two taxi drivers.
Exactly, Hazel. Big brother DJ, they made him comfortable so he would talk more. Exactly. It's kind of like that psychological thing.
Others were arrested, but they were later released.
It wasn't a shocker because it's something that we used to in South Africa. I mean, who gets their justice?
South Africa's femicide rate is 5 times the global average. The case of Poppy Mbongeka is representative of this wider problem of gender-based violence in South Africa.
South Africa is so corrupted because of the police. They're not doing their job. The same men who are supposed to protect us are the same men who are killing us.
It's crazy. South Africa is a low-life's paradise.
My 12th birthday, she threw me this big party with a big cake, with outfits on, balloons and everything. That was my favorite moment. It was as if she knew it was her last year. She was a people's person who enjoyed life, enjoyed modeling. She was the first person in the house to graduate from university. She was a perfect role model for me. My favorite things to do with her were to just sit around in her room, laugh, have our conversations. We had the best times.
I was very close with my sister. We did everything together. She never took anything serious, ever. So she was always my little child, although she was my little sister. She loved singing. She recorded a few songs. You don't come around. She met Bongeka through me because Bongeka was my best friend. Poppy respected Bongeka so much because Bongeka had achieved a lot after graduating.
They never stopped working hard. Bongeka was a very public person and she wanted to be on TV.
My name is Bongeka Pungula from Durban, and I'm auditioning for the role of Mandy.
Welcome, Why is Seeking Knowledge? Why? Because Seeking Knowledge says, yes, the lack of proper infrastructure and patriarchy collide. Horrible for women. Bars.
Bongeka and Poppy were inseparable. They inspired everyone around them.
Besefana ubengane bese bengasamthatha ngothi ngane umzukulu akhuleni kwakhe mina ubenga ngoba uma wakhe umshiye no13 years kuningi ka bekhuluma ngakho ngoba nje nokuthi ashintshe impilo yethu eyinto yonke.
The last time I saw Bongeka was on the 10th of May. It was on a Wednesday. On a Friday, we were supposed to meet again at their place because she stayed with Poppy. But I changed plans. I didn't go there.
That Friday night, they had called me. Actually, my sister was calling me. She was like, you need to come and see me. And I was like, no, not tonight because I have work tomorrow.
Dang, this
I
is
tried
terrible.
on Saturday to contact
This is terrible.
both her and Bongeka, but their phones were just totally off. And it's unlike them to just switch off.
Sunday, it was Mother's Day. My mom called me and she was like, Poppy didn't call me.
This is just so basically this is a global thing. And what's funny is that you would think that as Black men, we would have more empathy for our women than we do, knowing this, knowing that our women are the most targeted women in the world. The most targeted. It's not a complaint. It's not a whine. It's a fact. This is really, 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 really not cool. And what's funny is that we pride ourselves on being protectors. But where's the protection? That's the question I have is where's the protection at? Where's this protection and provision that they brag about so much? I don't see it. Phoenix says, Torch, empathy is not an innate masculine trait. I unfortunately agree with you. You're right. You're right. It's like how are we letting this happen? Bridget says, no, they enjoy what's going on with Black women. Apparently they do, Bridget. Apparently they do. Because that's one change. The first thing that Black men we could do is protect our women. And like it or not, if you look at the stats right now, with all the macho vibrato we exude and pretend, we're the worst at it. There's two ways to protect: logistical protection, which is to keep the woman out of harm's way, period, by using our minds. And the second would be the physical protection. One, to use our physicality to protect and not to assault. But too much times we don't use it's almost like a double-edged sword. We are double-edged swords, gentlemen. And unfortunately, too many of us are on the wrong side. Why Seeking Knowledge breaks it down like this: the double factor. We already secondary creatures as women, then melanated. Oh, the rest of the world wants our wombs out of competition with theirs anyway. Shaking my head. Then our men come on. Then our men come on podcasts. Yeah, they join it in, and that's the funny thing. Only race of men that hate their women. I've never heard a group of men hate their women more than my brothers. And it makes me gag to say that. They're proud to make them little podcast channels. I'm embarrassed. I'm ashamed. Whether it's some nut job like Obsidian, some nut job like MTR, some nut job like Poor Man's Podcast. They're literally building more Sam Littles. They're literally making men into monsters. Instead of building men, welcome Sugar Love in the house. Instead of building men, they're making them into monsters. And I stand on that 10 toes. I mean, really, when you think about it, how many channels do you really see in the chocolate red pill that are about bettering their life in a positive way? And that's the important part. What I mean by bettering your life in a positive way is you're trying to make yourself a better person so that you live a better life and the people around you live a better life. No, they don't want to do that. They want to control. How many good black men do we have out there? Really? You know the funny thing? The thing that makes it really funny? All the red pill dudes think they're good dudes. They really do. No, stop laughing. Stop laughing. They really do. They really think they're good dudes. Harassing women. Attacking them. Disrespecting them. They still think they're good dudes. Welcome, rat girl. Rat girls in the house. Also, stop using the words our or we. Good point. Good point. When speaking of these males, excellent point. They belong to no one. And why would you want to claim them in the first place? Bars. Rat girl, you brought up a very good point. You know, you want to know something? Wait, let me microphone check. I'm getting some signal over here. You guys can you guys hear me okay? Let me know. Put a 1 in the chat if you can hear me. This is deep. Rat girl, you got deep. Because you're right. These men are zombies. They're zombies. They are straight up zombies. I think I can be heard. I don't know. My signal's going in and out or something. Let me check my settings real quick. Just make sure I'm okay. No, seems good here. Okay. Must just be by interface. Okay, there we go. Okay. So I'm a little bit this stuff that we watched today, everything from Diddy doing Diddy, and let me tell you, Diddy he I wouldn't be surprised if he's put some people in the ground. I wouldn't be surprised. Welcome to the stage, Rat Girl. How you doing this evening?
Hi, DJ. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me all right?
Perfectly.
Okay. I'm celebrating my birthday today.
Oh, that is, everybody give the Rat Girl a round of applause, please. It's her birthday. Put a happy birthday emoji or something in the chat, please.
Thank you. So I felt compelled to come on because I feel a level of aggravation with the words that melanated women are using. Immediately stop describing melanated women as the most disrespected, the most whatever that is not good and positive. This has never been a part of my life. I have never accepted it, and I never shall. And I believe that is one of the reasons why my life has looked radically different from other melanated American women. I have never been a part of the so-called Black collective because when I looked at Black people, I didn't want to be a part of any of that. I don't have a problem with my ethnicity. I love my melanin. And pardon me, thanks for the love, everybody. I appreciate it. I love who I am, being a melanated woman. I know that I came here, I chose this because as a melanated woman, I'm not here to fit in. I'm not here to make people feel comfortable. I'm not here to serve anyone. Ever. That is not our job. We are not here to fix people who are not ourselves or the people we have given birth to. That's it. And that's only until they're adults. And so our job is to do our best to raise people who don't have this pathology and these feelings of less than. Black males are the reason that African people have been enslaved around this planet. Period. There's no debate about that. Period. None of us alive have been enslaved in that way. Too many of us have been enslaved by religion. I won't talk about religion because I have nothing good to say about it. That's all I will say. I came here into this life knowing that religion was a sham, knowing that the fact that I have a permanent tan disabled me in some way was a sham. I have always known that. I don't know how. I think it is from the deep love of the universe and my divine parents that I have known these things to be true. And I have come to understand as I aged why Black people, I don't call myself Black anymore. I love the color Black because it happens to be all the colors, but I am melanated because there is too much stigma attached with Black people, and I've never been that. And that is why I refer to myself as a melanated woman, because I am other than what we see way too often. There are too many people who want to live the stereotype, and I refuse to claim them or even act like I'm familiar with them because that is not my experience. Yes, I've experienced racism. Yes, I've experienced sexism. I have not let any of those things stop me. I also had a horrifically abusive childhood, and I have spent my life in therapy because even though I was broken, I was never destroyed. And I have come to understand that I am unconquerable. And I want other melanated women to understand that we are unconquerable. When people talk about Black people and who's conquered, do they ever talk about melanated girls and women being conquered? No, because we have never been conquered. We have endured things that we should never even be familiar with. And yet, as Maya Angelou said, and still we rise. We grow up in these same dysfunctional, abusive homes as these males. And yet somehow, because of the divinity within us as uterus holders, we continue to push forward. We continue to seek something better. So stop claiming that which is not yours. Disrespect does not belong to us. A lack of protection does not belong to us. All of this BS that they say about us is not about us. It is projection, and it is not for us. Stop claiming it. Stop claiming them. Declare who you are and understand that you are here for a reason, to teach and to learn and to thrive and to live in peace and harmony. That is our birthright. That is our due. I love melanated women and girls. My sisters are important to me, and too many of us are lost. We are lost in the lies that we have been told about ourselves. We are in the age of Aquarius. It is time to wake up, to the truth. The moment you accept the truth as what is, you create a new reality for yourself and those who share this planet with us. Whether we like it or not, we are each living examples of either how to live or how not to live. I refuse to be a cautionary tale in anybody's story. I have made a lot of mistakes over the course of my life. Therapy has helped me to forgive myself and others and to be kinder to myself. Melanated women, it is time. It is time. I love you. I love me. I love us. And the fact that we have a melanated man who gets it is important. He's the needle in the haystack. We know that. I appreciate you, DJ Torch. I was telling a friend of mine today who is a white man how you and Themis are two Black men who I follow online because you get it. And you are proof that Black males can choose differently. You are proof that they don't need to fall in line with the plantation buckery. So anyway, I'm going to shut up now. Thank you for letting me come on. I had to speak because it was really starting to annoy me. I
Black
love your
girl.
work. I appreciate your work. I send the love and light of the universe to keep and hold you.
Rat Girl, that was beautiful. Everybody, please give Rat Girl a hand of applause. That was beautiful.
Thank you. Good night, folks.
Good night, Rat Girl. Happy birthday once again. Everybody, give Rat Girl, definitely give her a hand of applause for sure, please. Definitely. That was about that was deep. That was deep. That was deep. I'm going to play a little bit more and let's see what we have here. I think my wait, what's going on here now? Let me check something out here. Hold on one second. Looks like my interface has interfaced. But at least I can speak. At least I can speak. As you can see that, I mean, we have some of the most wonderful and talented women in this room, and I'm so proud that you that you let me do what I do. And I hope everyone will take Rat Girl's words with you tonight. I hope she has an amazing birthday evening. You know, if you have any thoughts or questions, definitely um go ahead. Let me try something real quick. I'm gonna try to bring this back up and see if I can get this okay, that works now. Okay, that's not it. Well, let me go ahead and play it anyway. Hold on one second. I can bring some up. Here we go. Okay, I can move that around. Yeah, but Let me just make a little soliloquy. Can you guys still hear me? If you can hear me, put a 1 in the chat. It seems like to me that there's a lot of, a lot of concerns we got going on in our community, and they're not going to be solved by us men for a good reason. What a perfect example, and I'm not trying to roast the man, but you saw one of our men, not, that's right, girl, that's right. Not one an hour, do not use hour. One of these men yesterday who came on the show and he definitely let us know that he was hurt. He was damaged. He let us know that he was going through it. Because I remember him a long time ago, he's been going through it for about a year at least. And I believe he's a good example of a lot of men, what a lot of men are going through. So if they're going through that, and by no means am I giving them a break, because the men are supposed to be bringing up the women, not the women bringing up the men. But if he's going through it like that and everybody else is going through it like that, but the men still want control and still want to be the leader, you can understand why the situation in our community is the way it is. You can understand it. Look, Diddy was the pillar, I'll say was the pillar. Really, he never was. We just made him that way. He was never the pillar of the community. And look at the monster he is. He didn't just start doing this. Let's make it clear. He did not start being a monster just like these other deleters. He had been a monster. Chris Brown, been a monster. R. Kelly, been a monster. They were never good. Same as it ever was. Same. Thank you, Bridget. Thank you. For some reason my clicker's not working, but I hope you can hear me. But that's the problem. Again, thank you so much, Bridget, for the super sticker. I want to put it on screen, but my computer tripping. Anyway, I'll work on that later. Looks like I'm gonna have to get the wrench out for real. Get the wrench out for real after this live stream. But I'm glad at least I can be heard. But you can see what I'm saying here. It's like it was never good. Kevin Samuels was never good. It's like now you see why the community is the way it is. They laugh at Russell Wilson. They laughed at him for being a good guy. That's what it is. They laugh at him for being a good guy. I cannot tell you how many times I get called a simp or worse for just wanting to do the right thing. And it ain't about me. It's that most of the men in our community detest decent men. Isn't that weird? We detest decent men. They gotta have. It's just the truth. It's like that's why it's almost comedy when you listen to these guys online. And then especially after you see something like how they gave I guarantee you there's at least 100 men who knew this dude Little, the serial deleter was doing that. I guarantee you. They knew. But that's how strong the no snitching culture is. That's how strong it is. Isn't that sad? That's how bad it is. Let me see if I can get on here with my other browser. It's like when when do men turn around and say, "Okay, this is not right"? When when does that come into play? When does that come into play? Rat Girl breaks it down. She says, okay, first let me start with why seeking knowledge. The Dusties lash out because they can't compete bars. Too lazy to put any effort into trying. Sad excuses for men bars. Microphone check 1, 2. Can you guys hear me? Who's left in here? Okay. All right, everybody take care. Have a good night. I was able to fix the problem, but thank you so much. I see that Indiana mom came through. Thank you, Indiana mom. Let me play a little music to head us out. A little jam, something. All right. All right. Thanks everyone for coming through.